do a proper introduction, and we'll get rolling on one of the I think one of the most controversial topics out there in our world today. So we are talking with Shiroko Sokich, right? Okay. Is a doctor who cares about you, the owner of Heart to Heart Medical Center in Santa Rosa, California since 1993. She's an expert at using many modalities to bring your body to balance and wholeness. She specializes in acupuncture, chronic illness, pain treatment, hormone balancing, bioidentical hormones, digestive issues, brain chemistry balancing, and so on. You've got quite the bio. It's amazing. She's trained in general surgery and working as an emergency room doctor for about 10 years, while attending acupuncture school gave her the broad range of medical experience. In addition to practicing in integrative medicine for 23 years, she hosted a public access TV show, Perspectives on Healing, for 2 years, and has been writing a blog for 20 years and writing her second book, Healing When It Seems Impossible, which will be out in the next year. And the warmest welcome to you. This is a topic that's been a part of my life since I was as young. I believe my mom's on right now. She can probably chime in. I think my first vitamin, I was 4 or 5, if I remember correctly. So welcome. And thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. So, supplements was when I reached out and asked for someone to talk about supplements for my people. I got a lot of feedback, and everybody was all interested in doing. So many people that they asked me to do a roundtable. But what intrigued me about you was your bio, but that saying that you are the doctor that cares about people, and you are a doctor that also believes in supplements. So can you tell me a little bit about how that works in your practice? How does that work being a doctor who actually believes in the power of supplements?
Well, I'm a practical person. So I started out my training in medicine by going into surgery. And so I believe in results. And I've spent my whole life looking for how to help people feel better. And it all started when I was 5 years old, when my great grandmother collapsed in front of me, and I never saw her alive again. And she was my best friend. And on the day that I found out that she had died, I chose to think about miracles and to want to find a way to bring her back to life. So I imagined a heart-lung machine bringing her heart back to beating, because my mom told me that her heart had stopped beating. And so ever since then, I have sort of been driven to find answers, to find solutions. And so I went to surgery and then went to acupuncture school, all looking for answers. And at some point, doing acupuncture, I began to realize that there were certain times that people needed more support than just acupuncture could give. Mm-hmm. Of course, in traditional Chinese medicine, herbal medicine is very, very important. So I studied Chinese herbs and began to look at how to incorporate more oomph into the healing that I could give people. So, and then when I started my practice in 1993, I began to have patients who were super sensitive, and they would react to everything. And so then I had to research, what was the best way to give them these things and how to help them in the best way possible. So it's always about finding ways to help people feel better.
Okay. So, one thing I've always wanted to ask is, what is the difference between Chinese herbs and the supplements that we use here in America today? Like, tell me a couple of the things that make it so different over there? Because I do hear a lot of people moving that direction when they don't get what they need here.
Well, so the whole philosophy in Chinese medicine is that you are made up of energy, and energy travels through your body in certain patterns. And when your energy is out of balance, there are problems. So what we do is we look for how to get you balanced. And there are disciplines in Western medicine that do the same thing. Like functional medicine is really about finding balance and helping people with science find the right balance. So Chinese herbs are designed not to treat a symptom, but to find a balance. So for example, let's say you have trouble sleeping. Mm-hmm. A lot of women in perimenopause have trouble sleeping. And in Western medicine, it would be maybe a hormonal imbalance, which it is, of course. But in Chinese medicine, by feeling the pulse and looking at the tongue, I would learn what the imbalance was. And one particular imbalance, it's not really sound hormonal, is that the heart and the kidneys come out of alignment with one another. And so then they can't sleep. And so the herbal formula is for putting the heart and kidney back in alignment with each other. And then it doesn't make you sleepy, but it helps you sleep.
Okay. So kind of like an adaptogen. It helps the body adapt how it needs to.
Yeah.
Very
A lot
interesting.
of times herbs are combined in order to maximize the positive effects that they could do. So in Western medicine, I often do this actually. I do give individual herbs because I want to have a specific effect. But in Chinese medicine, quite often the herbs are in combination, so to maximize their positive qualities.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so tell me about who should be taking supplements, who should avoid them, and the definition of supplement. Can you give us a definition of supplement? I think that's something that coaches really need to understand, because when we're working with our clients, and that is the majority of our audience today are health coaches, it's not as easy as taking a pill and losing the weight or changing how the thyroid works. There's, the supplement definition is very important for them to understand, I think.
Well, by definition, the word supplement is an addition to. So it's something in addition to whatever it is you eat or whatever you do for exercise, whatever you already do for your health. So a supplement is an addition. There are several reasons that people take supplements, and that should be paid attention to. So there's the basic nutrients, like some basic nutritional support. Some are used as medicine. So they're used to take the place of a medication or to be a medicine for something. And sometimes they're used to treat a particular condition. So there's lots of reasons, or there's a nutritional deficiency that has to be replaced. So there's lots of reasons that people take supplements, and sort of prioritizing what it is you're seeking. And should people take supplements? Well, people ask this a lot, because should you have a multivitamin? And one of the reasons that I recommend for most people that they take a multivitamin and some basic things is because our diet and our nutrients that are available to us have become much less readily available. Our soil is destroyed. Our food that we buy in the grocery store, even if you buy organic, how many days has it been sitting there on the shelf?
Yep.
Like the best grocery store in my area is this place that all the groceries or all the produce is organic, but it's been sitting there for days.
Yeah.
And so light and water destroy certain vitamins. And so they're sitting in a well-lit store and they're sprayed with water every few minutes, to keep them fresh looking. And so there goes their vitamins.
Yes.
And so even the most healthy eating person, often they don't get enough nutrients. So the basic nutrients. And also we're exposed to way more toxins than we used to be. And, like driving in cars, we get exposed to gasoline fumes. Even when you have that recirculate thing on, you're getting gasoline fumes. Every day I see people drinking out of plastic cups from Starbucks or, the local coffee shop with the plastic lid, and they're inhaling or drinking plastic. There's plastic in our algae and sea salt now. So our detoxification pathways are constantly working, and I think they need some support. And so it can be as simple as taking a really good multivitamin and some omega-3 fatty acids, something very basic that you do every day, but can help support your health. And there is literature and science about the fact that people do better when they are taking a good multi. So
okay, so that's one of those things that I need to probably have a little bit of a mind shift on, because I've been that person that has always believed you do as much as you can with food, and then you supplement with vitamin D, omegas, the things that you can't get from your food in adequate supply to make up for that. And so let's stay with this topic for a minute, because I'm curious as to whether or not you believe in let's stick with the multivitamin as an example. Do you believe in a powder, a tincture, a capsule? I know that they all have, there are downsides to everything, I'm sure. But what's your favorite way to deliver a multivitamin?
Well, I do very individual medicine, so it's up to the person.
Okay.
You can get it in a shake, you can get it in a powder and put it in a shake. That's for some people. Some people don't like to swallow pills, so a liquid is good. I carry one in my office. I carry several in my office, because there's also a question of whether they should be quote unquote food based, or if they're quote unquote medicinal more, and so there's all these, there's the chemically synthesized, and there's the ones that are made from food, and then there's the ones that are grown on yeast. And there's all different qualities to each kind of vitamin. And so I wrote a little book called Supplement Smart that talks about that. And I've actually done some webinars that you can get on my webpage. It's just easy. Just click on my webpage, hearttoheartmedicalcenter.com, and you can sign up for the little book. And then every once in a while, I'll do a webinar teaching about how to choose supplements and what they all mean and how they all work. So food-based supplements are, I prefer organic as much as possible if something's made from food, so like if you're going to buy greens, because that's another way to get a supplement is to get dehydrated greens, that are put in your smoothie or shake or something, and then you're getting the vitamins from the vegetables themselves. And there's companies that make organic-based, food-based vitamins, and they're literally made from, extracting the vitamin C from acerola, extracting the vitamin D from, I can't remember what, it's not lanolin, it's from algae. Mm-hmm. So different kinds of vitamins. There's a company called Garden of Life. They make food-grown vitamins, and they're literally grown on Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which means they have yeast in them. Mm-hmm. So a person who has yeast can't really take those. Although they're really good quality vitamins, if you have yeast issues, you can't really take a vitamin that's made from yeast. But I do sell it to some of my patients who want to be more food-based,
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Garden of Life is a brand that you recommend and you like.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. What do you sell in your practice? What brand?
Well, I do sell their vitamins, but then there's I have many companies that I like. Mm-hmm. And of course I've developed my own multi. So I have a Dr. Shiroko's daily multi. It's a 1 a day, and it is got all of the basic nutrients. So it has all of the basic minerals and all the B vitamins and the A. It has 2,000 of D, which is enough D usually, and no calcium or magnesium, which is how it can be a 1 a day. So another thing to know about minerals, and when you take a vitamin, is the minerals have to be high quality. Mm-hmm. And they have to be able to be absorbed by your body. And calcium and magnesium are both very large molecules. Mm-hmm. So in order to get a good quality calcium and magnesium, you can't just take 1 pill a day. And so often I have the calcium and magnesium be separate.
Okay. Okay. So, and yeah, let me just remind everyone, if you have questions, please put them in Q&A for me. So that way I can field questions towards the end. That'd be very helpful. So I want to talk about calcium for a minute and what your beliefs are. I heard it has been, I know it's been probably 7 or 8 years ago, I heard that you shouldn't be taking a calcium supplement, that the opinion on that had changed. It was on a podcast. I wish I could remember what it was about, but can you speak to taking calcium for bone health?
Yeah. That's tricky because I still don't know exactly how I feel about calcium myself, because I've read a lot of the studies, I've read a lot of the science. So with calcium, I try to get people to do food-based. Mm-hmm. So 2 companies. There's a company called Synergy, mm-hmm. And they make organic calcium that is from the ocean, so mostly from algae.
Okay.
And so then it's more like food when it's absorbed into your body. And then I also use the Garden of Life. They have 2 kinds of calcium. One is food, the yeast-based, and another kind that's just food-based that they call organic. And somebody commented that Garden of Life had been bought out by Nestle, and I know that. Mm-hmm. And I've had conversations with the company, and said, oh my God, I'm worried that Garden of Life has been bought out by Nestle because what's going to happen? But the people who work there have said, and of course they work there, but they have said that they feel excited because now they can do more research and that they're actually going to have better quality. So we're going to watch and see. Because of course we want them to continue to have good quality. Yeah. And they were one of my favorite companies, so I hope they continue to be good. And it's something that people can just go to the store and buy. Most other supplements I recommend professional level because they don't have enough quality to be able to get good quality things. So one company I like is Metabolic Maintenance.
Okay.
All of their stuff is in glass bottles.
Do you have a sample?
Well, this is actually, this is not their product. This is my own, but I got it from them. It's called, and this is their my multi. It has everything in it except the calcium magnesium.
Okay.
But the fact that they have glass bottles is, mm-hmm. I mean, so few. That's also Garden of Life. They mostly have glass bottles.
Yes. Okay.
They're probiotics, by the way. Their probiotics are really good quality. recommended by Dr. Perlmutter. So, and he's helped formulate some of the formulas that they have for probiotics.
Right.
So calcium is tricky because if you don't have the right digestion and you don't have the right metabolism, and this is also true of many other minerals, but if you then absorb it the wrong way, then it doesn't do the good it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to have your digestion tuned up, and you have to have, your metabolism working in the right way, or you won't get the good from calcium. So for the most part, I recommend that people get calcium in food,
Mm-hmm.
or from food-based vitamins, because unless they're working with someone like me who's helping them optimize their digestion and improve their digestion, they're not going to get what they need, and then it may actually do harm.
Okay.
You don't want that. So
okay. So what should we be looking for across the board with supplements? Fillers, and what they're encapsulated in? Like, can you give us some things to steer clear of and what to be looking for to make it easier for us?
Of course, yeah. So I always look at the label. Here's another brand I like, Designs for Health.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at, can you see that?
Not really. It's a little blurry, but that's okay. That's all right.
So there's the main ingredients
Mm-hmm.
that you want. And then there's the additional ingredients. So like if you went to, let's say, Costco and you bought Kirkland brand, you would have a list of ingredients. If they're mostly unpronounceable ingredients, and you don't want to buy that.
Right.
And then if you look at the additional ingredients, which are underneath, if that list is longer than the list of what you're buying, don't buy it.
Right.
So there's all kinds of additives. Like there's companies that use talc and silicone dioxide and coloring agents and filler agents, and some fillers are bad, some fillers are not so bad, but you should always look at all the labels. In general, here's a company I really love called Tatvas.
Okay.
They're Ayurvedic herbs, and they're always organic. They only have the main ingredient. So this is holy basil, which is one of my favorite herbs. And the only ingredients there are holy basil in the concentrated forms, and nothing else inside the capsule. In general, if you are looking for supplements and you're buying, look for capsules, because they add less junk to capsules than they do to pills, because pills have to be pressed together and they put coatings on them and stuff. There's an ingredient called polyethylene glycol that is in a lot of supplements, which is basically antifreeze, and it can become something very toxic in your body if it's metabolized wrong. So you want to look for that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Always when I recommend herbs, I try to get organic herbs. Now, it doesn't always happen, because sometimes a company will make a product that I think is really good, and I know they've checked to make it sure it's clean, so like Designs for Health or Metabolic Maintenance or Apex Energetics, those are all really good companies. They test everything and they make sure that there aren't any pesticides. And so here, see that little GMP?
Yep.
That means it's been inspected by a government inspector and it's been tested for everything. And so you want to see that label on most things that you buy.
Okay.
Because it means that it's been run through various rigorous standards. Okay. And there are millions of supplements you can buy that don't have those rigorous standards. And so that's why we always recommend buying them from more professional level companies.
Okay. So can we talk about, let's stay with magnesium also for a second. I want to talk about that one, because there's so many different kinds of magnesium, and it's one of the ones that as coaches, I feel like we are making recommendations for people to look into that supplement very often, because we're so magnesium deficient. People are constipated. People aren't sleeping. People's brains aren't as healthy as they could be. Can you just kind of run through your top maybe 3 types of magnesium and what they're for, so we can give the coaches a little bit of education on that?
Yes, I can. I even have one of my, so this is a magnesium. This one actually is
called that one.
Mag. Yeah. So minerals are difficult to absorb, so ideally they're difficult to absorb, and magnesium, where most of us are magnesium deficient, as we know. Like in functional medicine, we talk about the main prescription is a multivitamin, an omega, and a magnesium,
Yeah. Yes.
Because the magnesium runs 400 pathways in our bodies, and so we need it for everything. And another thing to know is a lot of people take calcium and magnesium together, and they don't work together.
Mm-hmm.
For you to get magnesium. They work, so you need magnesium in order for calcium to work, but you need no calcium in order for magnesium to work. So if you want magnesium, you have to take it separately from your calcium.
Yeah. Why did they start combining those? Do you know when that started?
Because calcium needs magnesium in order to be absorbed.
Right. So they just went on that general rule.
Right. Yeah. But magnesium needs to be by itself in order for you to get it. So one of the things we do is to chelate the mineral with an amino acid in order for it to be absorbed through the holes in your intestines that absorb amino acids, which make them more absorbable. So you can get magnesium oxide, which is the least absorbable form. So I don't buy magnesium oxide unless I have really bad constipation and I want to have diarrhea.
Okay.
And so magnesium oxide is good for getting you to have a bowel movement because it won't be absorbed into your system and it'll draw water into the intestines and off you go. Magnesium citrate is kind of in between. It's more absorbable than magnesium oxide. And it'll also help loosen stools. So magnesium citrate is sort of the standard, like loosen stools, kind of most absorbable, least expensive way of getting magnesium. Then there's magnesium malate. That's one of my favorites because the malate helps with pain. And magnesium also helps with pain. And so magnesium malate will absorb into your system and help with the systems that cause pain and muscle relaxation and things like that. This one that I just showed you, the magnesium, the Neuromag is magnesium threonate, which is absorbed into your nervous system. And so it helps your brain. So like if you have headaches or you have a tendency to get a lot of headaches or you have trouble with your nervous system, like nerves firing the wrong way and things like that, then magnesium, neuromagnesium or magnesium threonate is a good form. So my favorites are magnesium citrate, magnesium malate, and magnesium threonate.
Okay. I think I have all of those. Yeah. I think I have all of those downstairs in my pantry because I've read so many different things about, and honestly, I just kind of fluctuate through them. If I'm doing more CrossFit than normal, I might go with the malate, or, if I'm feeling a little bit brain fog because I've got a lot going on, or, I might do the other. So I think, is that okay to do to fluctuate between?
Well, I think that's actually better to do. I believe one of the things I believe in is having, like, we eat varieties of foods. We should also do varieties of things that support us.
Yes.
So like I'll take a certain vitamin for a period of time and then I'll switch to a different kind, or I'll take a few days of a break, here and there. Like I'll switch to just a mineral or something like that on a day, because our bodies change all the time. And so part of what I teach people is really how to listen to your body so that you know what it wants.
Okay. Yeah, that's so important. We're really handing over too much of our power to other people when it comes to our intuitions and our instincts of what we need for ourselves. Yeah. So tell me about the honeymoon. The supplement honeymoon is something that I do quite often. Several times a year, I just stop taking everything. And I've been advised never to do that, by doctors and so on, but it feels good to me to stop and just take a break. What are your thoughts about doing a supplement honeymoon?
I think that's a great idea. And I actually think it's part of that listening to your body because there's so much noise every day in our lives and in our bodies. And so if you take a little break from things, so like I do that on most weekends, actually. Mm-hmm. I'm really good with all my supplements all week long. And then on the weekends, I kind of take a break. I mean, there's some I take every day, but most of the time on the weekends, I always take my magnesium because I need it. But I'll take a break from my multis on the weekends, or I'll take a break from some things. And I think that's good to do, and like when I travel a lot, I minimize the amount of things that I take on a long trip because I don't want to take 50 things on it,
Yes. And I find that when I go, like when we go to Mindshare in August, I had the best intentions the first year. I packed everything, everything I would normally do at home, and I brought everything back but one day. And I was like, there was no time. It was too much stress. We were eating and drinking coffee all day long. It was like, I just didn't want to do one more thing. The next year I was smarter and I really minimized, and I brought adaptogens for the amount of stress that we were under physically and mentally and so on. And that felt a lot better to me. So when I got home, I just stopped everything for a week and let my body adapt to being home and trying to get more sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so tell me a little bit, let's talk about vitamin C. Can we shift and talk about vitamin C? Because that one is, it's another one, you know, people say, oh, you shouldn't take too much, you know, vitamin C toxicity. Then someone says, well, that's nonsense. You just urinate out what you don't need. What are your thoughts about the type of vitamin C what do you like? I like liposomal. I want to hear your thoughts on that. And what are your thoughts about how much we should be taking?
Well, again, everybody's remarkably different with vitamin C. You know, years and years ago, I read about Linus Pauling, and, you know, he took 19,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day.
I know, that's just mind-blowing, isn't it?
And I did a test on myself to see how much I could tolerate, and I got up to 8,000 milligrams a day before I got gassy and kind of irritated digestion. And so sometimes I tell people to up their vitamin C to the point where it irritates their digestion and then back off.
Mm-hmm.
And then take that much for some length of time. I mean, the vitamin C does many things, kind of like magnesium. It does many, many things. It helps your tissues, your connective tissues heal better.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you have difficulty with wound healing, then you might be deficient in vitamin C.
Okay.
It helps your adrenals because it supports your cortisol making. And so when you're under stress, you need to support your adrenals. And in fact, you know, I just did this disaster recovery event because there were the huge fires in Santa Rosa where my office is. And I created this event for people to have the information that they needed in order to recover from any sort of disaster, like physically, emotionally, mentally. And it's available online for free forever. It's on my website too.
Okay.
But the three main supplements that people that talked about was B vitamins, glutathione for detox, and vitamin C. Because vitamin C helps your cortisol and your adrenals at the same time, giving you the immune system support. So, so different kinds of vitamin C's. There's all different kinds. I also have recently become a fan of liposomal vitamin C because I have seen patients who, you know, you just take a much smaller amount and it absorbs into your tissues and it works way better.
Yes.
It's a little bit hard to travel with because it often has to be refrigerated. So for travel, it's not the best vitamin C.
Yeah, I actually use Liposphere when I travel, the little packets that don't have to be refrigerated. But I do use the Quicksilver refrigerated liposomal vitamin C, and it tastes terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the downfall I found to the liposomal vitamin C. It's just the flavor is very bad.
Yeah, and you have to hold it in your mouth.
I know. I know.
I use too is the Quicksilver, but the packets I have a problem with because they're in plastic, and anything that's fat soluble, it's in plastic. You kind of worry about absorbing the plastic, you know.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, it is. There's plastics everywhere. And, you know, I really restrain it to when I'm traveling and just do it on the first day that I get done because traveling to me is a little bit stressful on my body. And so, you know, when you mentioned that about the adrenal glands and vitamin C, so sea salt and vitamin C are the two things that and holy basil and rhodiola, of course, when I was under significant stress it's been about probably 7 or 8 years ago. You know, I did like 10,000 units of vitamin C. I was doing, double dosing on the holy basil rhodiola, but the sea salt was the thing. I made the Sole, SOLE. I'm sure you know what that is. And for those of you who don't, it's just Himalayan rocks that are put in water. And I just took a tablespoon of that twice a day. And it cut my recovery time from that amount of stress in half. It was unbelievable. So I'm a big believer in that vitamin C for adrenals as well. Yeah, quite powerful. Okay, so let's talk about glutathione then, because that's another one that it tastes terrible and you have to hold it in your mouth and it smells bad. Those are the two ones that I will give my son money. I'm like, I'll give you $5 to take the glutathione and the vitamin C before school today. And because he won't do it. It doesn't matter what I do, but if I give him money, he'll take it. So when everyone's sick at school, I will squirt it under his tongue. He'll do the dance around the kitchen, then he chases it with orange juice, then he yells at me and it's over with. And here's your $5. But the glutathione, can you talk to me about when it might be not appropriate to use glutathione with clients. Like who are the patients rather that should not start on the glutathione with maybe detox pathway problems or methylation issues, something like that?
Yeah, so if you have problems so the methylation pathway is pretty complicated, but it's one of the detox pathways in our body. We have two main phases of detoxification. And the second phase includes sulfation and methylation. And we all have genetic tendencies to do certain things. And one of the tendencies is possible that we have trouble with sulfur. And if we can't do the sulfation part of the pathway, it may cause a whole cascade of detoxification and make you feel pretty crummy. So glutathione, so first of all, glutathione is made in your body from N-acetylcysteine.
Mm-hmm.
So most people actually do better if they take the things that help your body make the glutathione rather than just the glutathione itself, because glutathione itself is an unstable molecule. And I still don't know. I'm still researching this, so that with the liposomal glutathione, I got really into it. But then some people say, this one's not good, and this one's good, and this one's not good. I don't know anymore. And with all the research that I've done, what I found is that you need to support the glutathione to make itself. So it always needs N-acetylcysteine. Mm-hmm. The thing you need to know about glutathione, for those of you who don't, is glutathione, every single time you detoxify one molecule of a chemical in your body, you are using up one molecule of glutathione. So it's a very important part of detoxification. And there's phase 1 and phase 2. And the phase 1 converts things so that most toxins are fat soluble, converts them into something that can be processed into the phase 2 of the metabolism, and the phase 2 turns it into water soluble so you can kick it out of your body.
Okay.
But this part of the pathway between phase 1 and phase 2, if you can't do phase 2, then you build up toxins here that can be really toxic. You can make some things that were slightly toxic even more toxic. So you have to make sure that both phases of your detoxification pathways are working. And the glutathione is a vital part of the second phase of the detoxification. And so you want to have all the nutrients that are needed for that to happen. So that is why, for people who have genetic imbalances where they can't really detoxify very well, is you just take a good multi that has the right kind of B vitamins so that it supports all those pathways.
Okay.
That's why magnesium is so important, because it's a part of supporting all these different pathways.
Right.
So one of my philosophies of really keeping people balanced is to give them the nutrients that they need in order to support the things that their body needs to do.
Okay.
And of course, if they're ill, that's a whole different story, because then they need way more of everything in different ways. But the basics are, you want to get the right nutrients to help your body do its job without setting off ugliness.
Right. So then the N-acetylcysteine is the precursor to glutathione.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying, just to be clear, that if you take glutathione, and then you should also take the N-acetylcysteine, which is NAC for short, for those of you who know it as NAC. You take that prior to the glutathione or with the glutathione to help it work more efficiently.
Yeah. I actually have my glutathione product here, and I have to tell you the ingredients. So this has vitamin B6, N-acetylcysteine, and S-acetylglutathione, which is the precursor, the one step before glutathione. And so it has all the tools that the body needs in order to make the glutathione.
Okay.
So for traveling, I don't use the liposomal, I use this.
Yeah.
And like I said, I still, listening to all of the lectures and looking at all of the literature so far, I still don't know for sure. So I shouldn't say this. I still don't know for sure if just taking glutathione is going to work. If you take glutathione, however, it should be the liposomal, because it has to be absorbed through the fatty absorption mechanisms so that it can get into the body properly.
Right. Okay. And for those of you who don't know what glutathione is, it might be a new term for some people. We might have some new coaches on, but it is your master antioxidant. And I always use the same analogy because to me in my mind, I have to see what it, I have to see an analogy. And I think of it as the janitor at a prom. So when all the confetti is laying on the floor and all the cups and all the junk from all the teenagers partying is on the floor, that's all that free radicals and all of the garbage that our body has. And if the janitor didn't come to work that night, glutathione being the janitor, to sweep up all the free radicals, they just lay there in the body, in the gym, so to speak, just laying there doing damage. So I always think about it that way because I see it coming in and sweeping out those free radicals and all of those toxins. Is that pretty kind of an accurate analogy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
so
one other thing glutathione does, which is really valuable for people who have asthma or problems with breathing, is that you can actually get a prescription and have it inhaled, and it reduces inflammation in your lungs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So actually an NAC works like you can take it orally, and it actually helps support your lungs in openings. So one of the things when the fires were happening, I happened to be doing my seasonal cleanse in October. I had just started it the day the fire started. Really helped with the breathing because there was so much smoke. Our air quality was worse than Beijing here for weeks.
Wow.
So, and it helped, help people with their breathing, help their lungs detoxify. So it doesn't just work in the liver, it works in your whole body. And in particular, it helps your lungs.
Okay. So what are your thoughts about milk thistle for the liver? Do you see good results with that? What are your thoughts about it? I have a tincture that I take because I just can't stand one more supplement. So I'm a fan of the little liquid tinctures too.
Well, there's a lot of science on milk thistle for helping the liver with its job. And in people who were poisoned, I remember hearing this story of people who were poisoned by these poisonous mushrooms. Mm-hmm. Their livers were dissolving and they were given a high dose milk thistle and it saved their lives.
Really?
Yeah. So N-acetylcysteine, alpha lipoic acid, and milk thistle are really, really good for helping the liver do its job and helping the liver heal.
Okay.
When it can't, and can reverse hepatitis, can reverse chronic hepatitis, can help heal fatty liver. It can help all kinds of things. So it's not one of the supplements that I take every day.
Right.
So it's not that it can't be taken every day because it can, but I, like when you have this long list of supplements, like what are you going to take? If you need milk thistle, then you should take it. If you have liver issues, then you should take it. But I don't think that everybody has to take it all the time.
Right. I always take it. If I have a glass of wine at dinner, I'll take a big squirt of it and then I'll take my activated charcoal a couple hours later. So I want to ask about charcoal as well. It's one of those things, when I have a group of girls and we all get together like once a month and we'll have wine and pizza and we hang out together, gluten-free pizza, of course. But I always bring my charcoal and every one of them is like, they put their hand out. They're like, every time we get together, the next day they just feel amazing, whether they've had 1 or 2 glasses of wine or 3, doesn't matter, but it seems to work really well. What do you think about that?
Well, I use charcoal for when I eat food that I think is dangerous, which is often in restaurants.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I do it when there's seafood because I love seafood and I think most of our oceans are really toxic and I don't know what they're feeding us in restaurants. So I'll take charcoal when I'm in a restaurant eating fish. I actually use Neuromag and alpha lipoic acid if I drink wine.
Okay. Yep. I've heard that's good too.
Yeah. So it kind of, you can do whatever. But I think the charcoal is a good idea in those situations where you're going to eat foods that your body doesn't like. And it'll help clear it out. Also, charcoal is great during the seasonal cleanse because it can it kind of scrubs out the intestinal lining. So I actually have a combination of bentonite clay and activated charcoal that I give people as a part of their detox.
Okay.
And a person could do it, like one of my patients has really a lot of issues with toxicity. So she does 3 days every other week of taking activated charcoal with bentonite clay to kind of clean out the toxins in her body because it pulls them through the intestine, pulls them out of the body and into the intestines. So
yeah, I think Shiroko, we'd interviewed Shiroko a couple of weeks ago, and I think that's the same thing. She mentioned the bentonite clay and the charcoal, or the bentonite clay and the Oh my gosh, diatomaceous earth as well. Do you use
Uh,
diatomaceous earth for anything?
no, no.
No, not a fan of it.
Well, I just don't know everything. So
Yeah, I get it. I get
yeah,
it. I'm the same
I
way.
haven't figured that one out. I haven't spent a lot of time researching it. So
Yeah, I remember hearing about how diatomaceous earth is, how it can cut through biofilm on pathogens and things like that. And I remember the visual that always stays in my mind is a doctor explained it to me as little razor blades, like that the earth has. It looks like little razor blades under a microscope that slices through biofilm and allows the treatment of whatever you're treating, pathogens or bacteria, to be accessed more readily. So I thought that was kind of fascinating, but it also kind of scared me at the same time.
that's kind of what I
Swallowing.
think. It could be scary if you remove the biofilm and then you have a bare exposed toxin. Then what? You have
That's
to be
right.
ready for that. You know, there's
Exactly.
other ways to remove biofilms too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at a couple questions here. Andre is asking if you have a list of acceptable versus toxic fillers, which I think we just kind of covered on that. Which do you
in my
avoid the
book,
GMOs and
in
gluten? And
yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
have
in your
a
book.
whole list. Yeah. I have a whole list. So the one that really brings a lot of controversy and that I have personally struggled with the most of the fillers is magnesium stearate.
Mm-hmm.
Because almost everybody, including the really high quality companies, use magnesium stearate, and it's hard to find companies that don't.
Yes.
And so I've done a lot of research, and I still am sort of in this place of, well, sometimes I allow magnesium stearate to be in the supplements if I can't find something else that doesn't have it.
Right.
And it's the only one of a long list of other additives that, like, I sometimes think is okay. And magnesium stearate is something that they put in. First of all, it's magnesium, and it usually comes from vegetable sources, so it's not necessarily toxic.
Mm-hmm.
They put it in to keep the machinery flowing. So like when they're making a supplement, it helps it flow through the machinery.
Okay.
I worry that if it helps it flow through the machinery, does it cause an absorption issue if you have too many supplements that have magnesium stearate in them? I've done tons of research to figure it out, and I've found a few studies that say yes, that may affect the absorption of the supplement if there's magnesium stearate. And then I found mostly even people like Chris Kresser, who's a pretty well-known blogger, say that magnesium stearate is okay. And
Yeah.
all of the companies that use it, of course, they'll give you these papers that prove that it's okay. So that's the one filler that is like, okay, if you have to have a filler, magnesium stearate is okay, but I wouldn't have it in every single supplement. So like Tatvas and, this is one of my favorite immune builders, Lion's Mane. Or
Yeah.
Lion's Mane? No. Well, this company makes something called Host Defense. And they're all medicinal mushrooms. That's all they do. They have no fillers. So I mostly look for a metabolic maintenance, and this multi that I have, no fillers at all. Ideally, that's what you look for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you find something and you know it's fantastic and it has magnesium stearate, then okay, you can have magnesium stearate. But almost everything else, I'm like, no.
So how come why are some companies able to do things without fillers and some are not? I mean, I contacted my pharmacy about this when I was looking at thyroid medication and telling them I want the most benign filler you can possibly put in there. And it was like Avicel. And I'm like, that's not benign to me. Lactose, no. Like, we really struggled to come up with something that at the time I felt like I was healing leaky gut and working on that. I just wanted nothing in there. And she said, well, you have to have something. But why?
Because the molecules, like for thyroid, the molecules are so small, and if they're putting in capsules, they can't really have an empty capsule, so they have to have some kind of filler. So I actually worked around that. There's several pharmacies that I work with, and I bring them organic coconut flour.
Really?
Yeah, and they use organic coconut flour. I have very few patients who are allergic to coconut, so for most of them it works, but that's what I have them do. And then there's a pharmacy in the city that uses sometimes acidophilus.
Mm-hmm, that's what I ended up using.
Yeah, but that can be a problem for some people if they have SIBO or they have some intestinal problems, and a probiotic in their supplement or in their medication would be too much.
Yes.
So we have to be careful with that. So that's why I use coconut flour.
That's a good idea. I'm my pharmacist is amazing, and she's always like, whatever you want, we'll get it, and when people request things, she runs it by me to see what I think. She's amazing. So I'm going to run that by her because I started taking LDN again. I took it years ago, got away from it, and have gotten back onto it again for the immune support. But I'm going to talk to her a little bit about that because she actually has a grocery store in her pharmacy with all natural foods. So coconut flour and all of those great things. I'm wondering if she could use that to fill. I wonder if that would be a possibility. I never thought about that. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So 2 of my pharmacies did that for me. And so, yeah.
Very cool. Okay. We've got some questions over here. Let's see. Are you familiar with a supplement company called Food Research?
No.
No. Okay. And what do you think of Labdoor, researching and ranking vitamins? I've seen this site before too. The magnesium they rank at the type is life extension ingredients: magnesium oxide, citrate, succinct, trax magnesium, etc. Is this in line with your opinion, or do you know another lab resource to find out what supplements are best? That's a good question.
Consumer Labs.
Consumer Labs. Okay.
Consumer Labs is great. Yeah, and a lot of the professional level supplements don't do, but any kind of supplement that you buy online, they'll do the research and tell you whether it's good. Only thing is, I don't know if they look at the fillers. What's the one that this person was talking about? Is it Labdoor?
Labdoor. Mm-hmm.
I'll look into it. I don't know that one, but I'm happy to always learn.
Okay. Yep. And then Jackie is asking, what do you think about liposomal vitamin C in a capsule?
Well, the purpose of liposomal vitamin C is to be absorbed in your mucous membrane. So I'm not sure it achieves its purpose when you put it in a capsule and swallow it into your belly. So probably a cheaper way to get vitamin C if you're going to swallow it.
Yeah. And about the, let's see here. We were talking about the bowel tolerance earlier, and too much vitamin C causing, bowel disturbance. What about, is it ascorbic vitamin C or buffered vitamin C?
Ascorbic acid?
Yeah.
Many years ago, about 10, 15 years ago, I did some research on where was my vitamin C made. So other than the kind of vitamin C that's food-based, like acerola or camu camu or acai berries, those are sources of vitamin C that come from food. Mm-hmm. All the vitamin C, ascorbic acid, is all made in one place. And then it's distributed to the companies that then sell it and produce it in their various forms. So some people add talc to it, which is terrible. Don't do that. Some people buffer it make it esterified so that it's easier to absorb. And, honestly, everybody's so different. It's hard to tell. So, but if you're super sensitive to vitamin C, that is absorbed just as ascorbic acid, mm-hmm. You need to have it buffered.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing because I titrated up so high, and I didn't want to deal with any of the bowel stuff. But I hit about 10,000 milligrams a day, and I think I did that for a couple of weeks. Yeah, that's why I got it in the first place, because when I did it with the other kind, I ended up staying home for a couple of days. That was not good.
You don't want to do that. No.
Not good. Okay, so Joan is asking, would glutathione help someone with COPD? Is there a benefit to that?
There's literature that shows that. Yeah, it's you have to be careful. Again, everybody's different, but it's a nebulized form. So you'd have to ask the doctor to write a prescription to a compounding pharmacies, and it has to be a pharmacy that does sterile solutions.
Right.
Because they make a sterile compounded glutathione, and you inhale it with your nebulizer. And I've used it. I used to work in an office where we had access to that, and I would use it for my patients, and it was amazing if they had really bad shortness of breath or asthma. And I think it would reduce inflammation if it was COPD as well. It might extend the length of time that somebody does well.
Yeah. So, yeah. Do you have particular compounding pharmacies that actually sell across the country that you like? Because thank God mine's amazing, and she's down the road and she compounds for people all over the country. But do you have anyone that you recommend? Like Skip's Pharmacy does LDN in Florida. He's famous for that, shipping all over the country for the LDN and the way he fills it and the way he creates it. Do you have any suggestions for people or?
You
Because
know,
they're not easy to find. They're not
they're not
easy.
easy to find. There's so many regulations on the sterile, especially when you're using things like that are sterile products or injectable products. They're much more regulated. The pharmacy that I use is in San Francisco, but they won't do national. So they
Oh,
only ship in California. Um, and there is a pharmacy in Florida that I've used for some of my patients. I can't remember their name though. So
okay.
I could look into it and try to send you an email and answer you.
Yeah, if you do, I mean, if you can think of that. And I'm also going to, just for everybody's information, I've been taking notes, and I will be sharing a lot of this information in the replay email so that, if people start asking questions about all the supplements we've talked about, it will be in there. And you can also get the replay and watch again. So, all right. What particular brand of activated charcoal do you like?
I've been using Bulletproof.
Yeah, I have a bunch of that too. Yeah, Bulletproof. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
hard to find activated charcoal, oddly enough, but Bulletproof, I trust him, and
Yeah.
it's made from coconut, so it's relatively clean. So
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it funny how, at the event when we go in the fall, we start the day with bulletproof coffee and all of that. Then at the end of the day, before the party starts, they start handing out the charcoal capsules in the little bags. Yeah. They know how to take care of us over there. Okay. Let's see, we kind of touched on this already. The top 3 recommended supplements for overall wellness every day. You mentioned the multivitamin, you mentioned omega-3s, and then you mentioned magnesium. What else do you think? What do you think about vitamin D? I want to talk about that. I don't want to forget that topic. Vitamin D and K2. Do you believe they should be taken together? And if so, why? Because a lot of people don't understand that idea.
So the literature shows that you need K2 as well as D to work together. And you're going to ask me why, and I can't remember the chemistry. So it's not on the top of my head at the moment.
Right.
But basically, vitamin K does something to make the vitamin D more usable, and otherwise you can't use it in the way that you need to.
Okay.
This multi that I carry has 2,000 of vitamin D in it, and most people, if they're just doing maintenance, that's all they need.
Mm-hmm.
Vitamin D is one of my favorite supplements for people because so I have this whole thing that I call the triangle of wellness, right? So take my knowledge of Chinese medicine and kind of translate it into Western medicine. But in order for your body to function, no matter what you have, you need your immune system, your nervous system, and your hormones to be working. And you could be treating any disease, any condition, any kind of problem. If this isn't working, you're not going to get well.
Right.
And so I always work from this foundation of getting this well. Well, what's cool is omega-3s and vitamin D, they help all 3.
Okay.
So, and magnesium too, actually. So they help all 3 of these function better. And so it's the beginning of setting up a support system for all of your structures to do their healing, so and now there's a lot of literature or press that says we're measuring vitamin D too much and we're making too big a deal out of it. And if your level is, the range of normal for vitamin D is from 30 to 100, and conventional medicine says if your level's 31, you're fine. That's not true. You can't work your immune system without enough vitamin D. You can't work your hormones. In fact, a lot of people say that vitamin D is not actually a vitamin, it's a hormone. Because it's hormonal action.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I remember when they were saying the range was anywhere from, it had to be 70 to 100, had to be. And then they backed down. And I remember Chris Kresser wrote an article about how 35 to 70 was reasonable. And so I think it's always changing. But I think for me, one of the most important things is to test within the seasons. So in the summertime, I don't bother with it. And interestingly enough, this past winter, my level was 50 and I wasn't supplementing or anything, but I also was getting out and exposing my eyes and everything to the sun. So I think that plays a big part in how much people should be taking, and whether, I'm a big believer in lab testing twice a year for vitamin D, just to see where I'm at.
I agree with that. Yeah. I think you can't really know, because another thing that happens is when you're under stress, you use up your vitamin D faster. And so you could be I have some patients who take 10,000 IUs of vitamin D a day and they're still low at 30.
Wow.
And it's because their bodies are healing and they're under stress, emotional, physical, all kinds of things. So you just can't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do think that, like everything that gets a lot of press, we can overdo it.
Yeah.
So I agree with you about going out in the sun and trying to get, like, I try to get 10 minutes of sun every day if I can, which is not
Hmm.
today because it's raining, but you try to get some sun or try to get out there because
Yeah.
it's there's so many other things.
Yeah,
So
I agree. So, Joan asked, what are your thoughts of parasite cleanses? And we're going to go through some of these questions and we'll wrap up. We're getting up to the 1 o'clock time frame. But what do you think about cleanses for parasites? Do you have any protocols you do with that, or it's another big
yeah.
thing where everybody thinks they've got parasites no matter what, because people are talking about them. So everyone takes all these things,
Yeah. So I think I believe in doing an annual or biannual detox. So
Hmm.
I call it a seasonal reboot. So in spring and in fall, I don't believe you should do those in winter, because in winter your body's hibernating and you want to support it more in a nurturing way rather than trying to cleanse.
Okay.
So two, parasite cleanses, I believe in doing tests.
Mhm.
And most of my career, I've had a hard time finding the right test for figuring out whether someone has parasites. But now I have a test that I believe is excellent, and it's looking more at the DNA, more accurate in finding parasites. Um,
Is that Diagnostic Solutions?
yeah, the
Yeah.
map.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's the one I had done too recently. Yep.
the great test. I've spent my whole career, like, if I believe someone has parasites and I can't find them, but with this test I can find them. So I'm real happy about that.
That's good. It's a great lab. Hmm.
Yeah. Uh, So as far as doing parasite, if there's reason to believe, because I have, and I've been doing this for, I don't want to say hundreds of years, but 25 years I've been doing this. And and before I could find the test that would show whether someone had a parasite, if I thought they had a parasite, then I would use an herbal formula
Hmm.
to help them get rid of the parasite. But I don't think it's something you have to do every week or, or even once a year necessarily, because if you cook your food right and you pay attention to hygiene and you take good care of your immune system, then your body should be able to handle most of those things anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So Andre's asking, we need an independent compounding pharmacy. If you're compounding medication, then yes, absolutely. If you are a person or your clients are people that are super sensitive to fillers and things like that, it is absolutely a great idea to compound things until their body calms down and can handle that. I just want to throw that out there because I've done both. I've done trying to do the conventional pharmacy and then had to move into compounding, and that was quite the feat finding someone that would work with me. But yes, and I can suggest a place for you guys as well in the email. Taryn's asking, with ALA and NAC, is it something you should take daily? What doses do you give for those two supplements when starting someone on these two? And I know everyone's different, but just a generalization would be great.
I do believe so. I take those two most days. And I'll tell you the cool thing about NAC is, like 23 years ago, so it's early in my practice, I accidentally took some supplement that had NAC in it. And I always had a stuffy nose because at the time I didn't know I was allergic to dairy. And I took this supplement and it cleared my nose. For the first time in like days, I could breathe through my nose. So that for me was my favorite supplement for years.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's NAC, you can take 600 to 1500 a day. And if you're not sensitive to sulfur. The cool thing about alpha lipoic acid is if you have one of the SNPs, you can take alpha lipoic acid and it'll help you with your liver detox. It'll help you with balancing blood sugar. It's like another super antioxidant, one of my favorites. And you can take 600 a day, 600 milligrams, or even 1500. You can take a decent amount of it and it won't harm you. And if you're one of those people who's super sensitive to things or you have methylation issues, it's not going to harm that. So
Okay.
it's safe support of your detox mechanisms and a high quality antioxidant that will not harm.
Okay, that's good to know because the NAC, with the sulfur, and I didn't know that about the ALA. So Doreen, who's my mother, is asking what you think of the Calm Natural Vitality brand, Natural Calm.
That's the powdered magnesium?
Yep. For just kind of regulating constipation, helping people sleep, that kind of thing.
I love it. They add flavors to it, but that makes people take it, so it's fine. It does have, like, I can't remember if there's something in it that I don't like, because there's the emergency that's full of fructose. You don't want to take.
Yeah.
but the Calm has stevia, I think. So I think that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I probably use it 4 or 5 nights a week, and I add my electrolytes to it if I've done CrossFit that day or something. And I like the raspberry lemonade, just in case anybody's looking for a flavor. The other ones are so sour. Okay. So magnesium glycinate, good for liver and the organs. Tara's making a comment, but is that true? The magnesium glycinate is good for the liver and your other organs, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot to say magnesium glycinate is another one, magnesium that I like.
Okay.
It does help with so glycine is one of the neurotransmitter precursors, and it's also helpful for all kinds of things. So magnesium glycinate is a great way to take magnesium too.
Okay. All right. And then we have Karen. I should answer this one, but I'm going to let you too. Do you suggest pre-workout energizers? I like Vega, but it's high in sugar, or Vega, however you want to say that. Go ahead and answer, and then I'm going to put my opinion on that one.
I don't use them, but so if you have to have a pre-workout energizer, then your energy is not in balance.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So, or you're working out too hard, because there is that whole thing about finding the right kind of workout for where your body's at. So in general, I want to feel like you have enough energy to make it through your day, including your workout, without having to take something to make that happen.
Right. And and then at the Institute for Functional Health Coaching, I named that safe movement. So whatever you're going through in your life for that time frame, pick something that's safe for you to do, that you don't have to have something to boost you, because when that happens, your body's giving you a message. If you need it, then you shouldn't be doing it, right? You need the energy boost. You shouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm a big, I always tell the story about a client who had severe Epstein-Barr and exercise intolerance, and she couldn't even do 5 squats, and it would put her in bed for a week. It was terrible. So her exercise prescription was meandering. I'm like, just meander and wander. I want you to wander. That's it, with no direction. Okay, last question. Yeah. Andre's asking, last question here, D3 specifically. If a product doesn't state 3, should we not use it? D3 with a K2.
I assume that all vitamin D is D3. It's interesting though, because there are people who are vegans, and vitamin D is mostly derived from lanolin, which is from sheep's wool.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing.
Yes, it is. How did we figure that out?
And so some people that are my patients who are vegan look for vitamin D that's made from algae, because that's the other way to get it. That's really the only 2 sources. But the cheaper vitamin D is made from lanolin. So if you buy a less expensive one, you're going to get one that's, but I think they're all called D3. So
yeah, I don't know. I guess I've never really thought about it. I just stick with the D3K2 by Thorne, and I've always that's what we've taken. Yeah. All right. Looks like we've answered all the questions and gotten some good information today. And I appreciate your time so much. And what I'm going to do, just as a reminder, everybody, I'm going to include your website, and you have a book, and I'm going to also include all of these resources that you've shared with us. And what I'll probably do is expand on that ALA, because I thought that what you said about that not affecting the methylation pathways was fascinating. I hadn't heard that before. I've always just kind of been, backed off of I take the glutathione, but I'm super careful about it because I do have that SNP on my DNA with the sulfur. So I have been cautious about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was cautious too, and it really helps once you get once you get yourself nutrified to the right place. So you don't do it all at once, but you need molybdenum and SAMe to run that part of the pathway. And then you need the methylated vitamins. But once you get that working, then it becomes easier. It took me about a year to get mine working, and now it works well, and I can handle all those sulfurs.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you know what? Right before we let you go, SAMe, I know that I wanted to ask you about that. My notes are downstairs, but what are your thoughts about SAMe, and why do people struggle with it? Some people just can't take it.
Sulfur.
So
it's a sulfurated sulfur adenosyl methionine is what that medication or what that supplement is. And if you have a problem with your sulfur SNPs, you can't tolerate it. But it's kind of like magnesium in that it runs so many pathways in the body. So it behooves you to be able to get to that place where you can tolerate it. which again you can do with P5P, which is a B vitamin.
Mm-hmm.
So well, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And molybdenum.
Mm-hmm. Molybdenum. Yeah.
I like to say it badly, so it's just my bad sense of humor. I like to say molybdenum. but but yeah, so you want to get those pathways working if you can.
Okay. Is that in your book? Is how to do that in your book? Well,
No.
then I'm going to be messaging you because I've not been great about that. So I might be
I'll write
tapping.
a blog about it.
Yeah, you did write a blog, or you?
I will.
Will you?
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I know that a lot of us could use that. Me personally, and then I also have a couple of clients that'd be interested in hearing about that as well.
Okay, I'll send it to you personally.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everything today and spending time with us and getting us more educated on supplements. And I will be looking at doing a roundtable, probably going to talk to everybody at Mindshare where we can actually do this in a bigger, broader way and bring more information to everybody. And I want you to be a part of that as well. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Great to see you and
Thank
have
you
a great
so much. Yes. And I'll see you in August.
Okay.
Okay. Bye. Thanks, everyone.